230 million life insurance policies, over 2.85 lakh crore rupees of premium underwritten, and a market penetration of 4.6% of GDP. India's life insurance sector has come a long way in the past decade. The journey has not been an easy one. Over these years, private sector life insurance companies have let losses pile up on account of stiff competition, rising costs, and the obsession with top-line growth. But it's time for a reality check. And now it's the bottom line that really matters.
Everywhere in the world they say that the break even for an insurance company is somewhere between 6 to 8 years. It's only for this reason. So you have to look at things in that context, and the industry itself is only 10 years old. So it's not just us. I would say the companies which have been around for about 8 to 10 years, I think there are 3 or 4 other such companies which have started making profits, and for others it's going to be a case of evolution.
If I look at first half of last year, 10-11 up to end of September, our new business had grown by 44%. In the second half of the year, new business degrew by 1%. So overall we grew by 18%, but there was very clearly a shift from a 44% growth to a 1% negative growth in the second half.
According to the Boston Consulting Group or BCG, between 2001 and 2010, the top 10 private players had accumulated losses of nearly 16,000 crore rupees. ICICI Prudential leads the pack with accumulated losses of nearly 3,500 crore rupees, followed by Reliance Life, Birla Sun Life, Tata AIG and HDFC Life.
Ours is a business where typically the acquisition costs are high, and because of the effort in selling a product, and because the acquisition cost, which means the cost in the year of the sale, are high, typically there is a accounting loss in the year one. We sell a 20-year product where in year one there could be a loss, but in the future year, the next 19 years, there will be profits.
The good news is that nearly 1/3 of the private sector has started posting annual profits in the past 3 years. But the bad news is that most players are still bleeding because of high operating expenses. The OPEX ratio, or the operating expenditure to total premiums ratio of the industry, is at 15 to 30% compared to 10 to 15% globally. A major reason for these high expenses is commission expenses. And here public sector giant LIC is as worse or better off as private players. The Life Insurance Council estimates that life insurers paid about 17,864 crore rupees or 6.22% of premiums as commissions. But in September last year, the IRDA capped commissions for ULIPs at 4% in the first year, increased the lock-in period from 3 to 5 years, and mandated annualized returns of 4.5%. It also raised the cap for the minimum sum insured to 10 times the premium as compared to just 5 times earlier. The impact?
In the period October to March, which is the second 6 months of the year, the industry has actually been down by upwards of 20% in the varied individual business, and the private sector has actually been even more severely impacted, where individual varied premium has actually been down as much as 40% as compared to last year.
Prior to the September regime, the product mix broadly for the private sector was 80% ULIP regular, 10% single premium, 10% traditional. Now post September you are seeing that this mix is changing, and now it is broadly 30-35% single premium, 35-40% your traditional plans, and around 30% regular ULIPs. So this product mix is changing.
That's primarily because IRDA's cap on commissions has taken away that extra zinc from ULIPs or unit-linked plans. Distributors were happy to push ULIPs because they made a killing on commissions. Some of them made as much as 40 to 50%. But reports of mis-selling and a spat with market watchdog SEBI on the regulatory jurisdiction on ULIPs brought this party to an end.
Though ULIPs have become profitable as a product class, the distributor remuneration has fallen by about 70% to 5%. So a full-time agent who is selling about 2 to 4 policies makes less than 5 to 8,000 rupees per month, which makes a full-time career as an agent very, very unattractive.
According to BCG, insurance companies have released 400,000 inactive agents since the new regulations came into force. That's not all. They have been aggressively cutting costs on all fronts. Since October last year, life insurers are estimated to have shut down 1,000 branches across the country and rationalized operations of the existing branches.
We would be more cautious in the number of offices that we open. We would be more careful in evaluating the potential of areas that we get into or customer segments that we get into. We are focusing much more on trying to make our distribution channels more on variable cost and much more efficient while we have the time.
The changed environment is slowly affecting the product mix of insurance companies. A comparison of the new business premium of life insurers before and after the regulatory changes shows a marked increase of non-linked products.
Our product mix, even at the heydays of ULIP sales, used to be 75% ULIP and about 25% of traditional plans. That's got a little more balanced now as changes have happened. But so it's fair to say that some change in the overall ULIP sales has happened, but I think it's been more than compensated for by take-up rates of our traditional plans.
Experts agree. They say that while the new regulations may have a negative impact on premiums in the short term, they are in the interests of the industry's growth in the long term. That's because the changed regulatory environment has put the focus back on the customer and aims to bring in more transparency. That in turn is expected to create a demand pull and catapult India from being the 10th largest insurance market in the world to the 3rd largest after America and China by the year 2020.
The profitability for the industry has dropped almost 93%. Between 2007 and now, owing to the de-tariff that's happened across the various lines of business in the general insurance industry.
If we look at the kind of underwriting losses that the industry's made over the last couple of years, we talked of a number of 5,900 crores for financial year 10, and for last year, while the exact numbers are still being collated because the numbers from the various companies is still to come in, but this number should be more like in an order of about 11,000 crores.
Prior to de-tarification, we had losses, underwriting losses in the industry, and during this entire period, the investment returns which was covering up for these losses, it's undoubtedly not sustainable.
It's no doubt the premium is going up. The question is why penetration is not going.
The damage is irreversible. But fortunately, the financial losses arising out of such situations can be controlled. All thanks to 24 general insurance companies who offer policies for almost every eventuality. So why aren't there enough takers for these general insurance policies?
It's primarily because of lack of awareness, it's also because of lack of fiscal incentives, and also because the rural households cannot afford the kind of premium, so that is why they do not even consider getting into any non-life insurance plan. And if we look at the products which are popular, only 2 products which are motor, which is vehicles, which includes your car insurance and two-wheeler insurance, etc., and health. These are the only 2 plans which are almost about 50 to 60% of the overall general insurance business, and almost about 80% of the overall people, those who are covered in non-life or in general insurance.
That explains why the penetration of general insurance has grown from 0.5% in 2001 to just 0.6% in 2010. That's a paltry number when compared with other markets like the UK, China, Japan, Brazil, and the US. The poor growth of general insurance in India has a lot to do with the fact that the market is still nascent. Until a decade ago, this sector was a monopoly of 4 public sector giants, including New India Assurance and Oriental Insurance. But the opening up of the sector in 2001 brought in private participation and much needed competition. Over the years, even as premiums fell, private players remained obsessed with earning higher investment income and servicing corporate clients. And that turned out to be the Achilles heel.
Premiums under certain businesses have come down by more than 90% of what they were on tariff. To put it in simple terms, our premiums today have become equal to what the commissions we were paying to the agents who were sourcing the business. This has put a severe strain on profitability of corporate business.
That problem was accentuated post-2007 when 6 new players entered the market and several segments like motor, fire and engineering were de-tariffed.
If you look at the overall industry, right now it is not profitable. Maybe there are a couple of companies in India making profits, but if you look at the P&L for all the companies for the year ended March 2011, thanks to impact of de-tariffing, which has led to price competition, as well as the impact of the third-party pool for commercial vehicles, pretty much every company in India is making losses, and these are companies who have been in existence for a long time.
In the past 5 years, the industry's underwriting losses have increased at a compounded annual growth rate of 13%. In the past financial year alone, general insurers reported underwriting losses of 5,900 crore rupees. Most of these losses have come on the back of rising claims. According to BCG, over the past 5 years, the claims ratio for private sector general insurers has ranged between 80 to 85%, and for public sector players, it's as high as 90%.
The claim ratios have shot up to 85% for the industry. And because of the higher pool losses that have had to be provided in the current, in the year which has just gone by, my educated guess would be that the claim ratio would be a number which would be closer to a 95% for the year. While the expense ratio would continue to hover around a 32 to 35% mark. So obviously as an industry, the claim ratio is an area of huge concern, and that does continue to be a major factor.
That means for every 100 rupees collected as premium in the past 5 years, insurers gave back 80 to 90 rupees as claims. That leaves them with next to nothing for operating expenses and commissions. Globally, insurers have an average of 60 to 70% as their claim ratio.
The large cost for an insurance company out of 100 rupees of premium that we collect, the claims that we pay out should be in the range of about 70 to 80% at most. I mean, ideally about 70, around 70, but not beyond 80%, because you need the balance amount to take care of your operational expenses. Unfortunately, in India that number is much higher if you look at an industry level, and that is because of underpricing that I talked about, because of the denominator effect, but also because of leakages in claims.
Take for instance the case of motor insurance, which accounts for nearly half of the industry's business. The claim ratio for the motor own damage segment has increased steadily from 40% to 60 to 70% over the past 3 years. While the claim ratio for the motor third-party business has declined in this period, it remains a loss-making proposition.
If you look at the third-party losses, especially over the commercial vehicle category, kept on increasing. The premium increase which was affected in 2007 itself was not sufficient to take care of the claims which are expected out of third-party liability. So the insurers had loss ratios ranging from 150 to 200% in the third-party liability portfolio as such. In commercial vehicles, when the pool was formed, every insurer started sharing these losses in proportion to their overall GDP. So this has resulted in significant losses being booked by each insurer in the last 3 years. The last financial year, significantly, the regulator felt that the provisions provided for the pool is not sufficient, and the regulator asked all the insurers to increase the provisions under third-party liability pool. So this brought in another 3,500 crore loss for the industry.
The segment that is hit the most with rising claims is health, which accounts for about 21% of the portfolio of general insurers. According to rating agency ICRA, the claims ratio for public sector insurers have been in excess of 100% over the past 3 years.
There is a stark difference. For the same treatment, you pay anywhere between 30 to 40% more in the case of cashless, because it's going directly to the insurance company. So that is one part. Linked to that is the fact that insurers somehow have not got their act together in negotiating good set of rates with hospitals. Typically, if you look at it, most hospitals and most insurers globally would have what is called hospital management team.
whose job it is to go out to hospitals. So for example, you and I, if we were a part of that team, would go out to Breach Candy and say, you know what, I have X rupees of claims. If you give me a list which says X-rays X, 5,000 rupees, MRI 3,000, etc., etc., then I will give you a guaranteed amount of business. And then I would guide my patients or my customers to go to these hospitals. That's in sharp contrast to Indian general insurers who are still dependent on their investment income to break even.
It is not at all sustainable. Because what is their core business? Core business is insurance. If they are not doing a proper core business, then this is negative sign, I should say. See, let us take example. Today, investment income is showing a good result. They are earning out of that investment money. But tell me, if suppose something goes tomorrow, which repeat of 2008 situation, sanctions come down, today 19,000, 18,000, come down to say 10,000, where the situation? The solvency margin will come down, the profitability will come down, so their sustainability is in question mark.
But the industry has emerged wiser this past year, and now the focus has shifted from corporate and group business to the man on the street. Because sooner than later the free pricing regime will end. The stage for risk-based pricing has already been set, so what really will matter here on is cost competitiveness, product differentiation and building a strong franchise.
It is actually forcing companies to focus more on expense management, forcing companies more to be efficient rather than just top line focus. So to that extent, it is definitely good.
You need a certain critical business volume to be able to achieve profitability, as central office or corporate office costs can get defrayed over a much larger base. Two, very clearly, as I mentioned before, distribution efficiency is key to this business. Three would be the quality of distribution and the quality of sales.
Wherever opportunities to consolidate infrastructure existed, we've consolidated that into smaller number of offices. So a lot of that has been done last year, allowing us to kind of generate cost efficiencies.
India's insurance sector is in need of a new lease on life, and regulator IRDA is setting the stage for the road ahead. Last year, it capped commissions for life policies and partially de-tariffed non-life insurance, and now it's setting the stage for the next decade. IRDA has recently released draft guidelines for mergers and acquisitions for general insurers and also suggested IPO rules for life insurance companies. Because sooner than later, they will have to take a serious look at their balance sheets. The bottom line, better late than never.
You need to stay focused on expense management. You need to stay focused on managing persistency, a very, very important criteria. You need to stay completely focused on ensuring that the customer gets not just quality service at the time of sales, the customer also gets quality service post-sale. Only then the customer will stay with you. If you do and manage a portfolio which is balanced, both in terms of the product mix as well as in terms of the channel mix.
You need a certain critical business volume to be able to achieve profitability, as central office or corporate office costs can get defrayed over a much larger base. Two, very clearly, as I mentioned before, distribution efficiency is key to this business. Three would be the quality of distribution and the quality of sales, which in our industry I think is best recognized by what we call persistency, or the ability of customers to pay renewals regularly year on year. Four, I would say, would be the product mix that an organization is able to achieve in terms of a good balance between traditional products, unit-linked products and universal life.
While that's the case with life insurers, general insurers too need to set their house in order. Here's how.
They should create a discipline, underwriting discipline, to develop their core business, to work on the economics of the profitability of the product, to develop the product which is sustainable, and they should have proper risk management procedures to write business at a right price.
Risk is a key issue, and it's not just risk management but pricing risk that needs a relook. particularly in the case of general insurers who have been taking on more risks than they can digest.
The biggest challenge for the industry will be appropriate pricing for the risk what it's covering. Now soon, within a matter of few years, the industry has to move to Solvency II risk-based capital. So that means that if the insurer is not charging adequate price for the risk what he is assuming, it has to bring in more capital. Already the industry has problems of capital. So unless proper pricing is not attempted by an insurer, you will find it difficult to survive.
Here, general insurers can learn lessons from more developed markets. For instance, despite motor insurance being de-tariffed in India, most companies are still offering Me Too products based on the written down value of the vehicle and whether it's for personal or commercial use. In contrast, motor premiums abroad are based on several variables like the driver's track record, vehicle usage, the number of drivers, etc. Which brings us to product differentiation.
We will need to see more differentiated products for different segments of customers who are emerging. I mean, they used to be really a one size fit all strategy in the past, but we are beginning to see some more lot more innovation coming through. So clearly differentiated products, differentiated services, bundling of services with products, I mean that's the way to go in terms of growing the business in some of those areas.
We will need to sort of do a significant amount of work on the product side, whereby we can actually make these annual products into 2-year, 3-year products. And this would also help take up the average ticket size. And what this would in turn do is that it would incentivize distribution.
Distribution is also the weak link for private sector life insurers who were rolling out aggressive branch and network expansion plans to gain critical mass. But it's time to do away with those excesses.
We are focusing much more on the productivity of our sales force and people, of our entire sales force advisors. We want to enhance the productivity. We feel that the agency force, if it has to be viable and it has to be interested and engaged, has to be much more productive than it is today.
We did not see near-term profitability. So we have allowed for servicing to be continued from there, so that every policyholder and agent who wishes to be serviced out of that location, it's possible to do. But wherever opportunities to consolidate infrastructure existed, we've consolidated that into smaller number of offices.
A good strategy. Because lean is the way to be here on. That then clearly sets out the agenda for insurance companies in India. Those who adapt themselves to the changing environment will turn around sooner than later, and the naysayers could find themselves in a bigger mess than before.